life-giving for all of us who are going through different mental health issues. Ayun. So hopefully later po in our conversation, we can also talk about our experiences po of advocating for mental health in the Philippines, especially now when there are so many platforms, including virtual platforms and different technologies that can help us in this kind of advocacy. So yun lang po.
Correct ka
Siguro,
dyan. Kasi marami tayong
Cora,
dapat
dapat,
palitan sa konsepto ng mental health. Ang alam natin, mentally ill, yung
Mm.
mga nasa kalye na sabi sira-sira o ano mga pangyayari. Pero siguro ang uunahin kong magsalita si Lucy dahil lang ang kanyang programa talaga ito, yung mental health sapagkat pangulo siya ng World Association for Psychosocial Rehab at si Sonia naman malalim na rin ang kaalaman tungkol sa mga pangyayari sa komunidad. Go ahead, Lucy.
oh, gusto ko lang banggitin ng isa sa mga lumulutang na issue, and I think nabanggit na natin to sa mga nakaraang pag-uusap natin, na mental health literacy ang kailangan nating maiayos dito sa Pilipinas because dito nag-uugat yung stigma, yung discrimination, kaya kailangan ma-promote ang mental health literacy. Wari mo, isang example na, no, doon sa isang workshop na aking na uh, facilitate, no, ang isang lumutang, yung mga magulang na may mga anak na may disability, children with disability, for example, may autism, merong developmental disorder, ang sabi ng magulang, ang unang-una kong dapat mangyari ay matanggap ng mga magulang ang kakulangan sa development ng kanilang mga anak, no? So, even that is part of the mental health literacy. Kailangan nating matanggap sa ating pag-iisip at sa ating kilos at gawa na natural lang na magkaroon ng mga disorders. At yon may solusyon, hindi forever pwedeng maisaayos kung tayo ay may sapat na kaalaman kung paano natin ito pakikitunguhan, no? So, yun ang dahilan kung bakit yung kilusan nila KYRA, yung kanilang NGO na they're actually very staunch advocates of mental health, na yung literacy natin kailangang maimulat talaga ang ating mga mamamayan para maintindihan nila, magkaroon ng kaalaman tungkol sa mental health. Hindi yung kung kailan lang may sakit, saka lang gagawin or pag-aaralan. Ang gusto po nating isagawa, mabigyan ng kaalaman para maiwasan hanggat maaari na magkaroon ng disorder. So mahalaga po yung advokasya nila, #mental health ang pangalan ng NGO ni KYRA, no? Doon po nag-uugat yung kanilang movement. Okay? So itutuloy na natin. Siguro we can ask KYRA na-introduce na ba natin yung kanyang yung background ni KYRA, dahil si KYRA kumikilos as an NGO ngayon. Pero ang totoo, meron siyang professional background na medyo naiba pero magagamit, no? And si KYRA used to teach in the Department of Psychology of the Philippines, no? Of the UP, of the University of the Philippines. Although short lang yung stint niya, she was at one time teaching there. Maybe KYRA, you can talk about the work that you've done.
Hi,
KYRA, go ahead. And of course,
okay.
I'll also ask Sonia to share sa kanyang pag-iikot. Nakakita ba siya ng mga may mental health issues sa mga probinsyang pinuntahan niya? Go ahead, KYRA muna.
Yes
Go
po.
ahead.
Yes po. Thank you po, Tita Cora, and thank you po, Prof. Lucy. So just a very minor correction lang po. I actually taught not with the Department of Psychology at UP Diliman. I taught with UP Diliman, Department of English and Comparative Lit. So I taught research writing, English literature, and research. Yun. Pero
Okay.
okay
Thank you
lang
for
po.
that. Yeah.
Opo. Professor Lucy is right. And also, please forgive me if sometimes maglalapse po ako into English. Minsan, mahirap po sa akin para na magtagalog. So, I will do my best.
Yun yung uso ngayon, Engelog or Taglish.
Opo.
Taglish.
Sige.
Thank you for your patience po. So, actually, totoo po yun. Yung background ko nga po, it's not specific po to mental health or even medicine or public health. My background is actually in writing, research, communication, and publishing. So, ang dami po, iba-iba po yung bit-bit kong competencies or expertise going into this sort of advocacy. Pero yung mga transferable skills po na nakikita namin, especially in this kind of environment na media saturated, maraming different kinds of information that are coming around, is really a strong background in reading, research, and critical engagement with media. Kasi when I was listening po to Prof. Lucy talking a little bit more about the importance of mental health literacy and the literacy about general well-being that includes mental health, din po natin nakikita yung this stringent need, this critical need, not just for access to information, which we have via the internet, but it's also yung pangailangan to understand and critically, parang hihimayin po natin kung anong klaseng information po yung nakikita natin sa pang-araw-araw. Kasi hindi naman po natin mahihiwala yung sarili natin or yung ating experience outside of social media. So napaka babad po natin sa social media ngayon, yung paggamit lang ng Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, even where you're watching this now sa Facebook po siguro or in other streaming platforms. Marami po tayong instances where we have to engage with different kinds of information. So part and parcel po of this is knowing what kind of information is actually quality information, relevant information, and then how to fact check. So parang ito po yung themes na lumalabas din po when we talk about mental health literacy, na parang ano nga po yung mga myths that are involved in mental health, how do we know which kinds of information is true, is real, is valid, is something that is backed up by evidence, and then who do we ask if hindi natin alam, how do we find out? So yun po yung parang very interesting movement nga po, no, na dito po kami, this is where we live, kumbaga, yung mental health PH. Sisegue lang ako, very slight, Prof. Lucy, doon sa isa pong ongoing and very consistent mental health literacy campaign that Mental Health PH does every month, actually 3 times a month. So we have a tweet chat called #Usap Tayo. I think if you have been on Twitter or X, baka nakita nyo na po yun at some point. Kasi ginagawa po namin yung tweet chat na ito every 10, 20, and 30 of the month. So every day that ends with 0. Kasi we do this tweet chat in particular to help address and redress the rate of suicide cases in the Philippines. So naka-anchor po yung aming tweet chat or yung mga spaces conversations namin, not just around mental health, but we also participate in World Suicide Prevention Day, for example, because it's very important to us po to be able to talk about mental health and suicide and preventing suicide or deaths by suicide, and also having a safe space where people can express or talk about and describe their experience. So that's one way po that we're actively trying to become more or help each other and ourselves become mental health literate and engaged in providing information that is evidence-based. Kasi we also make sure to provide parang articles that are researched as anchors to these conversations. So that's part of what we do po in that campaign and as mental health literacy programming po. Ayun. I think Doc Sonia had something to say po after, no, Tita Cora, after me.
Yes. Si Sonia malalim ang kaalaman sa communications dahil naniniwala ako na malaki ang kanyang maitutulong dito sa pagpapalaganap ng kaalaman dahil bukod sa turista din siya. She's all over the country at all over the world. Kaya marami siyang alam na may share. Go ahead, Sonia. Your take dito sa sinabi ni Kyra. Hindi, Mike,
Mike,
wala
wala
kang
akong
mic.
mic.
Ayan, okay. Okay
Hello?
na,
Meron na?
okay na.
Okay. Unang-una, hangang-hanga ako sa approach na ginagamit ni Kyra because evidence-based to fact-check. Ito yung mga kailangan natin ngayon eh. Kasi part of the mental health issue is the lack of truth, the lack of honesty in our relationships with society, with one another, hindi ba? Yung nakaka-mental issue yan, nakaka-distort ng mental health when the society is not functioning on the level of trust, on the level of honesty, on these levels of values that we value, and it's all distorted. I mean, very strong influences every time we have an election, which is almost every 3 years. We always go through the whole system, of promises and then all of the good social media ads, uh, giving all the false, beautiful, what explanations or descriptions of the candidates so that you will vote for them. So all of this all come out from akin ang pinaka bottom line nito, around the truth. Ano ba talaga ang katotohanan? Around the truth, yan ang ginagawa nila, Kyra. They research, according to her, and from that research, they do their advocacy. Ang gusto ko yung fact-checking kasi we hardly do that. And that talagang baon na baon siya on the ground, on the grassroots, with their organization in advocating what is the truth and what are facts. For me, that's very important for the mental health of our groups, our family, our society, our community, our country. So I'd like to congratulate you for that move, Kyra. Ngayon to sinasabi ni Cora na ah, lumilibot ako sa buong Pilipinas. Revenge travel lang yan. Dahil ilang taon hindi ako nakapaglakbay. Pero hindi naman ako nagta-travel at naghahanap ng mga mental issues kasi alam ko it's all over. Because of
Yes.
this program, I was made aware that there are units, not enough, but operating very well in our regions and in our provinces, and that yung batas ay nakatulong ng malaki sa pag-uusap namin. Malaking tulong ang paglagay ng batas on mental health. So ginagamit naman at natutuwa naman yung mga mental health practitioners na hindi naman gaano kadami na, 'di ba Lucy, dream mo na magkaroon talaga ng ng well organized mental health units, no, communities in the country. Kasi yan eh, parang it's really a very heavy problem, mabigat, complicated. We have to have the skills to handle it. And
Totoo
Kyra is
ka.
doing. Oh,
Kasi parang tayong nanggigising sa programa natin ngayon na yung kaalaman ng nakararami ay makarating pa, no? Kasi ang perception ng iba, unang-una, hindi gumagaling. Pag nagkasakit ka niyan, hindi ka nagagaling. Ikalawa, ano lang yan, passing fancy lang yung sakit na yan. Maaalis din yan. Parehong hindi totoo. Ang totoo, kailangan matulungan yung nagdadaan sa hirap ng pamumuhay. Plus, at the same time, naniniwala ako na panahon na para malaman ng mga tao ano ba nangyayari sa bayan natin. Kasi mula sa itaas hanggang ibaba. Pero Sonia, may mga nanonood na sa atin.
Oo nga eh, si Evelyn Roda. Good afternoon po. Joel Gapas. Good afternoon po. Evelyn, Nacho Moore. True, true. Nacho Moore. Environment does affect mental health. Mabel Roa, good afternoon. Ma'am Cora, Ma'am Sonia, Ma'am Lucy, and guest, Miss Kyra. Thanks for the enlightening discussion on mental health this afternoon. God bless po. And Nacho Moore, wellness program, suicide prevention, availability of help.
Nako, challenging 'yan. Ano, a wellness program. Kasi ang wellness natin, losing weight. Ang ating, suicide prevention is too late at availability of help kulang. Parang sinagot ko na ito 'no, pero sabi ni Nacho Moore, good topic. Dahil nga maganda yung topic natin, kailangan ma-exhaust natin ano yung resource person natin, kay Kyra, ano na yung kanyang, napag-aralan, ginagawa at gusto pa niyang gawin. Go ahead, Kyra.
Opo. So, currently po, in my professional life, researcher po ako ngayon. So, interesting po yung ginagawa namin within Mental Health PH, no? Kasi one of our resources nga po, one of the, I think, viewers po asked about how to find or how to access help, or the fact that there was little to no help available. So one of the things that we developed, or one of the tools that Mental Health PH has developed and is currently improving on, is the Mental Health PH directory. So I think pag nag-flash po yung ating parang media mamaya, makikita nyo po yung parang snapshot of what the directory looks like. Pero the
Mm.
mental health directory is exactly what it says. We have tried to gather as many of the mental health centers, clinics, service providers, or places of access in the Philippines. And then we try to provide as much information. Kunyari, saan po siya na-locate, kung meron pong telehealth medicine available for this site, kung ano po yung services available, and as much as possible kung ano po yung price range nito. Kasi nga, barrier to access din po yung nakikita namin na libre po ba yung treatment or yung service provision. So this is one way that we're also concretely trying to address some of these problems or some of these challenges that we experience within the Philippine context. I believe Prof. Lucy also has a lot of ideas about also helping at the policy level or in the research level po kung ano yung kailangan pa natin in order to make these services not just accessible or available and visible, but also how to help create a net that will ensure that nobody who needs mental health treatment gets left behind. But of course, that's I think another conversation altogether with Prof.
Mm.
Lucy. Ayun. So that's one thing that we're doing currently. Aside from yung programming po namin, we're still a volunteer org, no? So limited po kami by the strength of our volunteers, by the availability of our volunteers. But another parang tool that we've developed when we saw a need for self-care is the self-care kits. So we have two currently. The first volume is called A Seed Called Courage, and then the second volume is called Garden of Compassion. And these self care kits are free to download. They're available on the Mental Health PH website, and they're also self paced. And they're also made for Filipinos with the help of Filipino physicians, sorry, licensed psychologists, because we also have some licensed psychologists in our volunteer roster. So we developed these resources in order to provide some resources for the individual whenever they require some exercises or ideas to help them alleviate some of the symptoms that they might be experiencing, especially if it's mental health related or mental well-being related. Ayun. So, meron po kami mga projects na ganito that we're trying to establish, build upon, and help disseminate. Also in the service of course, the mental health community in the Philippines po.
So are they
Nakita ko may
available?
program sa Parañaque dun sa lista ninyo 'no. Of course ngayon ko lang nabalitaan at interesado akong alamin kung ano yung nangyayari sa Parañaque sa mental health 'no. Kasi 'pag hindi mo alam wala ka namang gagawin, Kaya kailangan talaga alamin natin at tama yung sabi niyo ano, usap tayo. Kasi pag hindi nag-uusap, hindi nalalaman. No? So,
Opo.
tama yung sinabi mo, Kyra, na palawakin natin ang kaalaman ng mga tao sa pag-uusap. Lucy, I am sure, ano ka, may burning issues ka na gusto mong sabihin. Go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes,
Okay.
now.
Ojo.
Unang-una sa lahat, I have to commend the group of the hashtag mental health PH group, no? Kasi yung directory na yan, parang napakasimple pero pag wala siya, wala kang magagamit. It's an important tool na kailangan. Kasi yung mga, yan ang madalas sabihin ng mga merong issues, hindi nila alam kung saan pupunta. Kaya yung tool na yan, yung directory na yan, malalaman mo yung nakalista kung sino yung mga service providers, paano makokontak, magkano kakailanganin mo para bayaran mo sa bawat session with them. Kaya yun, napakalaking bagay and they have updated that, no? And then, that they have provided a space, usap tayo. Kasi I'd like to connect this dun sa suicide issue na binanggit kanina ni Sonia, no, na one of the reasons people commit suicide is they feel so disconnected to the environment around them. Parang wala silang makapitan, they find their environment not so supportive. And so yung kung may space kang usap tayo, that's a safe space kung saan pwedeng ang isang taong may nararamdaman, pwedeng makipag-usap without the stigma. Kasi pagka ganun, parang may anonymity no? And then the third one na ginawa nila na ang tingin ko, swak na swak ngayon, kasi globally, pinopromote ito self-care. Kasi ang unang makakaramdam kung may nangyayari sa sarili mo ay ikaw. So tinuturuan nila ngayon ang mga mamamayan na pag may nararamdaman ka, pwede mong alagaan ang sarili mo, pero meron ka ding option na dumulog sa ibang tao para humingi ng tulong. So I think they've connected the self with the environment. Kaya yung kanilang framework, the self and the system, kinoconnecta nila yon, no? So I find that very useful. Pero yung isang itatanong ko kay Kyra, kasi sabi natin importante ang mental health literacy. Ano ba yung napunan ninyo na mga paniniwala na dapat tama or i-correct, no? For example, yung binanggit kanina, nung araw, ang paniniwala natin, kapag baliw ka na forever. Yung mga may schizophrenia, parang ang tingin natin, hindi gagaling hanggang doon na lang, no? But you know, we already have proof of concept. May mga cases na tayo, schizophrenia for some time, pero naka-recover. And that to me is a big thing. Kasi taliwas yan dun sa mga paniniwala natin nung araw. Ang pangalawa pa na nakikita ko, yung paniniwala natin sa isang may kapal, sa isang big entity beyond us, our creator, no? And we call that spirituality. Parang ngayon lang natin, binibigyan ng katapat na halaga ang spirituality bilang isang pamamaraan para ma-maintain mo ang mental health mo. You need to maintain your sanity. Pagka push comes to shove, wala ka nang malapitan, sinong kakausapin mo? And Filipinos are good in that. And I think these are things that we will have to acknowledge, no? So ngayon ang tanong ko kay Kyra, ano ba sa inyong mga pagkilos, no? And by the way, ang kainaman dito sa grupo nila, Kyra, they are composed of youth. So we're dreaming of having a successor generation kasi alam mo naman, yung mga katulad natin malapit na nasa pre-departure lounge na Kailangan magkaroon ng kapalit. Kaya sila Kyra, tinitingnan kong maaring pumalit at gumawa ng mga ikinikilos natin ngayon. So Kyra, maybe you can tell us, ano yung mga natutunan nyo, believe in and meet and about mental health. may edito.
Ayun. Thank you, Doc
Thank
Liz,
you, Doc
Professor Lucy.
Professor Lucy.
Sorry, nag-echo.
Sorry,
Ayan, okay.
nag-echo. Ayan, okay.
Oh,
Okay.
okay
Ayan.
na. Okay na. May factor ako. Okay.
Okay lang yan, Prof.
Okay.
Ayun. So, forgive
Ayun,
the
so
echo na lang
forgive the
po.
echo na lang po.
I think interesting
I
po
think
yung
interesting
tanong.
po yung tanong.
I'll try to answer
I'll try.
it coming from yun, coming from our most recent usap tayo sessions po. Kasi yun yung pinaka direct conversations that we have with our community, no, na nakikita namin, and it's also the space again that we created and maintain for everyone on on Twitter space. So I think yung nakikita po namin na very, very specific to mental health in the Philippines is that medyo limited po nga yung understanding natin or knowledge natin about the different kinds of mental health conditions that are out there. So for us, yung pinaka malitaw po or yung pinaka recognizably a mental health condition is still anxiety, depression, so yung mga mood disorders po. Sorry, if you hear a barking, that's my dog. He's underfoot, so excuse me na lang po. Um, so when it comes to other mental health issues nga po, yung mga sometimes yung mga developmental issues or even mood issues for those who are older adults, for example, yung mga ka-age po ng mga mommy ko or even older. These are parang hindi nawawala po sa ating isip na it could be a mental health issue po. So there's that one, it's a very specific and very interesting gap po na we keep trying to emphasize na first of all, there are different kinds of mental health issues. So sometimes we try to anchor our usap tayo conversations around different conditions po. So ADHD, for example, ADD, or other issues like these. Or sometimes we talk about the mental health challenges or the mental well-being of other specific groups. For example, the mental health for mothers, mental health for older adults, the mental health challenges experienced by other communities who might have been historically marginalized. So yung pag-mainstream po siguro ng pag-iisip about mental health and how mental health truly there's no health without mental health, and that sort of supersedes our conversations about how we are thinking about our well-being. Kasi I can be very physically fit, I can be very physically active, but then there's still something not that there's still my mental and emotional well-being to consider. So yun po, just as a very simple way to scaffold the conversation, it's that there are different kinds of mental health conditions and issues po, and that it can be mental health issues belong to everyone in a very real way. Na it's different communities at every age, and it can afflict everyone regardless of our socioeconomic and where we live. So parang the approach for mental health has to be whole of society and very inclusive po, I think. So I think Prof. Lucy will also have more thoughts on this down
Yeah.
the line.
Ako kasi naniniwala, aging is also a factor sa mental health. Kasi parang ang feeling mo, I have friends na dahil wala ng family nila, mag-isa na lang sila, nagiging Mona Lisa. They lie there and they die there. No? Dahil to use I don't want to make it a joke, pero nakakaawa talaga yung mga seniors na wala nang inaasahan kasi mga anak nila nasa abroad and therefore hindi natutugunan ng kanilang pangangailangan. I'm sure si Sonia sa kanyang pagbiyahe-biyahe, nakakakita siya ng mga Pilipino nagdadaan din sa kahirapan ng how to cope with the activities of daily living. Sonia, your take.
Ang mahirap, 'di ba nanggaling ako sa Bicol din. At isang matanyag na suicide case kay Andaya. No? And kung tatanungin mo, sinabi nila dahil hindi pa niya natanggap daw yung namatay yung asawa. So
Talaga.
grieving, if you don't also know how to handle it, can be a mental health issue. And walang pinipili yata yung pagka tinatamaan ka ng ng
Yes.
depression or anxiety at any time, any moment, it can strike anywhere where and anybody pag dumating. Kaya I think this advocacy of KYRA to keep people aware, ready, informed, so that they know where to go just in case something like that will arise in your midst. Kasi it's always easy just to talk about it and then give the statistics and then say ganto, ganto, ang dami ng issue. Pero pag ikaw na mismo on the ground tinamaan, how to really handle it, where to go. And this information that we are giving through KYRA today, I think is very helpful. I'd like to, I saw the link already. It was put on the private chat, how to get to KYRA, KYRA's advocacy, and maybe how to download the directory because you said that's important. Yeah, no, mental health director. So, paki-take note na ho yan. Kung gusto nyo, pwede nyo i-download and keep it in your files for reference just in case. And then yung kanyang self-care kits, andyan din yan. It's all downloadable, isn't it, Kyra? Oh, it's all downloadable. So I think with this very 1 hour meeting na nag-usap tayo, ay kung yung pong nakikinig sa atin ay nakinig talaga, ay makikita nila na malaking tulong itong nagawa na nitong programa at ng guest natin na si Kyra. Thank you.
Meron nang nag-live din, Sonia.
Si
Taga Batangas.
Jenaline Insyong. Good afternoon po. Si Jasmine Lamutan. True. At si Nacho Moore. Alright, good explanation.
Thank you, thank you. At at ina-acknowledge na meron tayong magandang explanation. Kasi ako naniniwala na pag hindi pinag-usapan, wala tayong gagawin tungkol doon. Tapos, meron pang isang nag-comment, Sonia, yung huli. Na wala kang audio.
Lenny, naka-on na ba? Lenny Kindara Devesa. Very nice and very helpful po. May 3 puso.
Thank you ang tawag doon. Thank you.
Thank you ba yun?
Patuloy natin. Siguro ano yung gusto mong mangyari, Kyra, sa pagitan ng ating programa. Kasi syempre, babalik ka para ibalita kung ano na yung mga pag-aaral, yung mga research na ginawa ninyo. Kasi yung alamin lang natin kung saan marami ang merong namumroblema na sa mental health, malaking bagay na yun para bigyan daan, para tingnan kung anong pwedeng magawa ng Department of Health dun sa areas. Hindi naman ako naniniwala dahil lang sa kahirapan. Kaya nagkakaroon ng mental illness. Minsan nga, ang mga mayaman pa ay nagpapakamatay dahil may baril sila para patayin ng kanilang sarili. Yung mga mahirap, wala silang magamit para patayin ng kanilang sarili. And I think, talagang dumami naman ang nagsusuicide sa mga kabataan, Dulcie, di ba? Yun yata naging yung
Actually, correct. Well, there are 2 things, no? Ngayon, mas nagre-report. But the other thing is mukhang kung gagamitin natin, for example, yung isang nakausap ko na taga Palawan na social worker, sabi niya, talagang nakita nila yung pagtaas ng dami ng suicide cases. So, for example, out of 49, something like 9 children had committed suicide or 9 cases. 9 out of 49, malaki na yan, actually, no? So, totoong lumalaki ang suicide cases. And I think part of the reason is yung sinabi ko kanina na gagamitin ko yung term ng isang sociologist, there is anomie kasi parang disconnectado sila sa kanilang paligid, no? So yung walang makapitan, ang feeling nila walang makapitan, no? So by their perception, by their subjective feelings, ang pakiramdam nila, nag-iisa sila. Which is not necessarily the case, pero ganun ang pakiramdam nila. Ngayon, ang isang magandang sinabi din ni Kyra kanina, yun bang maski mayroon kang pinagdaraanan or na pinagdaraanan sa buhay, and it happens to everybody. And as you said, hindi lang naman kahirapan ang dahilan yan eh. Kung yung case for example ni nung grieving ni Andaya, that's an example, mayaman sila pero still, no? So it can happen to anyone. Ngayon, ang kailangan talaga yung magkaroon ng insight ng isang tao sa sarili niya, maintindihan niya kung ano yung mga prosesong nangyayari sa kanya. And even if you're going through something that's pretty heavy, you can still function. Merong mga tao na may bipolar disorder, for example, may mood disorder, and yet they are able to function well. But that's because they have the guidance, they're given the appropriate medication, and meron silang pagkakaunawa kung ano yung mga prosesong nangyayari sa kanila. Ang isang magandang lumilitaw ngayon sa mga pananaliksik, yung the gut health, yung sa tiyan, no? Yung gut health mo can affect your mental health. Yan ngayon ang kasalukuyang linya ng pananaliksik na lumulutang. And maybe at some point in time, we can have somebody who can talk about that. The gut health affects one's mental health. So, yung binanggit kanina na alam mo, maaring maging bumigat ang issue ng mental health. And yun nga ang projection WHO, di ba, na by 2030, ano na tayo ngayon, 2023, by 2030 daw, the third burden of disease all over the world will be mental health. So talagang kailangan natin kumilos. Ngayon, ang isang nakikita nating kailangang mangyari, of course, kailangan palakasin ng Department of Health dahil meron na silang mental health division ngayon. Pero I'm not so sure that that is enough kasi 8 tao lang ang nasa mental health division. I think nabanggit ko na yan, no? So, at saka, ang isang maganda is more LGUs should be involved.
Yes.
Nabanggit ni Sonia na gusto sana natin mangyari, may mga programs sa local government, sa mga communities para hindi na kailangang lumuwas ka pa ng Maynila para lang magpatingin, no? So that one of the advocacies, and I think this is part of what KYRA's group will also advocate, is that local governments will actively participate and set up their own community mental health programs and services na hindi nakasandal sa mga psychiatrists, mga specialista, kasi we cannot produce as many psychiatrists or psychologists as we need, pero pwede nating i-train yung mga nurses.
Local government.
So, sa local government. So, I think yun ang isang pagsusulong na kailangang mangyari para while we make people literate on one hand, we should make sure that the services are available sa community para magtatagpo sila. May nangangailangan, may serbisyo para tumugma sa kanilang pangangailangan.
Correct ka dyan.
So, I think we need more LGUs into it. Kung may props ako dito na ayaw umalis. Okay.
Sonia, may nag-comment, 2. Awa ng Diyos, may nanonood.
Mapagpalang araw kay Ma'am Cora, Ma'am Sonia, Ma'am Lucy and guest at sa Mabel Roa. Surprised about the connect of gut health to mental health. I hope this topic will be tackled by your program in the future. Yeah, Cora will schedule that. At saka dito sa Cora, Marilyn Lim is watching, Nene Austria is watching, Ditas da Silva is watching, and Lily Kaya is watching.
Wow, thank you, thank you. Hindi na malagay dito sa ating sa mga posts natin, hindi na mabasa. Pero si Sonia may access na napadala sa iyo yung message. Talagang
Pero kung
Hindi
we spread
hindi
the word,
sufficient.
mabuting meron tayong critical
Oo, hindi
mass.
sufficient na
Okay.
minsan lang natin ma-invite si Kyra kasi siya deputy director. Kailangan na masabi mo, masama mo yung director mo din para makasali siya sa eksena, no? O nagdagdag din si Lenny. Comment.
Ah,
Meron din silang mental health programs para sa kanilang constituents. Sana more programs po na ganyan. From Lenny Kidara de Vesa.
Yeah.
we're
Well,
taking note, Lenny. In the
oo.
future, magkakaroon tayo ng programa sa community-based mental health programs.
Nung komperensya namin, yung biyernes, mga social workers all over the country, nandun si Governor um, Mandanas. At
Oh,
siya yung may patas na pinasa para magkaroon
yeah,
ng pondo ang local government.
yeah,
Kailangan talagang sundan natin to para
yeah.
magkapera ang programa ng mental health. Yung
Kapondungan.
kakulangan sa tauhan ng mga
Yeah,
professionals, pwedeng mag-train tayo at the
yeah,
local level na
yes.
makakatulong para maipisan ang kahirapan ng mga lugar na merong mental health issues. May ano tayo, sandali na lang ating panahon. May 3 minutes tayo. Kyra, ikaw muna ang ano. May 1 minute tayo. Go ahead.
Okay po. Parang last time na pong magsasalita, no? So, I think I note your recommendation po, Prof. Lucy. I will tell the other core members po about your show, and hopefully po mahikayat po natin sila na lumahok din dito para sa inyo po. I'm sure mas marami po silang insights na maibibigay po na baon nila from their own experience volunteering. From my end po, because I am here as an advocate and as a volunteer of hashtag mental health PH, ang gusto ko lang po sigurong makita is that sana at some point, hindi na po kailangan ng advocates for mental health kasi alam na po nating lahat na necessary ang mental health, and its wide impact, and how important it is to improve our overall quality of life, not just as individuals but as communities. Yun po yung aking pinaka inaasam as an advocate, na sana we are able to talk freely with the people in our lives about our mental well-being, and that we collectively reach a level of emotional awareness and maturity, that we are able to hold this space for everyone that we need to. Kasi I think it starts from there po, that we are able to care for each other before we are able to then um, go pursue the harder work of advocating for everyone else in the community.
Mm.
So yun. Thank you po, Tita Cory.
Okay. Final words, Lucy and Sonia.
Parang ang dami ko ng sinalita. Anyway, unang-una salamat, Kyra. Sana dumami kayong mga kabataan na magpapatuloy ng advocacy na ito, no? Dahil it may take some time before we really get to a point na hindi na mo kailangan ng advocate. Dahil napakarami nating mamamayan na dapat mabigyan ng kaalaman, no? So I would say, may your tribe increase. And we hope to see more of you. We need a critical mass of people. We need to educate parents, teachers, local government, napakarami. And children themselves have to be educated so that they would know how to handle and how to overcome their life stresses. So, thank you, Kyra. Again, I will say, may your tribe increase.
Okay, Sonia, final words.
Kyra, I think I'd like to wish that you will be able to make all your dreams come true dahil bata ka pa eh. Tsaka magaganda naman yung programa mo. Eh, syempre, naghahanap tayo ng sinong tutuloy na we live this world na mentally healthy naman yung mga kasamahan natin, di ba? Tsaka kasi kung pinipredict ninyo in 7 years, it will be the number 3 health problem in the world. Eh, parang masama yung ganun na prediction. So I think, ngayon pa lang, maaga pa, gawin na natin yung kaya natin. At saka yung mga kaya natin, I think si Lucy ang nagsabi to organize community-based
Yes.
mental health programs to yung bang tulungan natin ang sarili natin despite what we lack and despite what we still dream we can add to our programs. Pero I am positive and I'd like to remain positive na the Philippines will be very high on the mental health talaga issue as soon as possible.
Oh, si Edlin Nancha, good afternoon po, watching from Vietnam. Buti ka pa, nasa Vietnam na. Enjoying. I will end with a prayer for the nation, as we always do. Lord, let me be the change I want to see, to do with strength and wisdom all that needs to be done and become the hope that I can be. Set me free from my fears and hesitations. Grant me the courage and humility. Fill me with spirit to face the challenge and start the change I long to see. Even if I'm not the light, I can be the spark in faith, service, and communion. Let us start the change we want to see, the change that begins in me. Bye-bye na tayo at meron tayong final ending sa ating programa.
Inyong
Maraming
napakinggan at natunghayan ang Bago ang Lahat, Mamamayan Muna. Sa pamamagitan pa rin ng inyong tulay sa tunay na pagbabago, ang Broad Streamcast Communicators. Hanggang sa muli, maraming